Okay, it says we're being live streamed.
Good evening, everyone. How's the night? How are you, Aaron?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Pretty
Good to see
refreshed,
you.
actually. Ready to kick it a little bit.
I'm gonna check on my phone, my Facebook page real quick and see if it's
Yeah,
streaming.
it was doing it.
Is it doing it? Can you tell?
Oh, I no, I
Oh, all right. Yeah,
I'm afraid I will lose this if I try to
hear
check
you.
something.
Yeah, we're on. So we're doing good. So
Beautiful. Good,
and no echo. So good to see you, man.
good to see you, Aaron. Always a pleasure.
Hey, so it's been over. Can you believe this, Doug? It's been over a year since we did one of these.
Yeah, over a year, and I just saw in my memories that exactly 1 year ago today, you did a teaching on the left-hand path and its connection to Easter. That's awesome.
I might have to go back and watch that.
Yep, April 4th, 2021. Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. So yeah, so backed by popular demand and request.
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting into this, man. We're just gonna we didn't even pick a topic. We're just gonna
Yeah, just kick it.
just kick it.
See what
Exactly.
comes up. Just see what comes up. Yeah.
Exactly. So what's on your mind, bro?
No, well, I've always had a keen interest in watching people evolve,
Mhm.
watching leaders evolve,
Yeah.
and so what was it? Yesterday was Bishop Jim Swilley's birthday, and he had Reba Rambo on. Reba Rambo was the person in the 70s and 80s that pushed the envelope as far as inclusivity.
Yeah.
Reba Rambo was the person who I said on Facebook that she worded it lightly, but presenced it mightily.
Yeah, I love that.
She was a Wonder Woman living as a Christian singer and teacher. So she brought to the Christian community a version of Jesus that was kind of like what we were doing before we really got into major deconstruction. And so when I saw those two, Bishop Jim Swilley, who's taking things even further now,
right.
When I saw those two, it was magic. It was just it was amazing. And so same thing with you. When I watch you from 2018 until now, I'm watching your evolution, and it is absolute magic. It quickens things in me, And so anyway, it's just good to see you, and I'm grateful. I'm thankful for all the things you've taught that have inspired me and kept the magic going, And so that's the main thing.
Yeah, likewise. I was thinking about it like when we first connected. First time I heard you, I'll never forget. First time I heard you, I don't even remember who you were on with. You were because we hadn't connected or talked, or I don't know if even commented on each other's stuff on Facebook.
Right.
But
no, never had. You saw a pastor from Dallas that was interviewing me. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the first time in the deconstruction process. You remember back in the day, the anointing teaches you all things, all things, you need not that any man should teach you, as it says in
Right.
First, but the anointing teaches you all things. And you talked about that quickening and that magic. I was so quickened, and it's like you were putting words to things that I felt like I always knew, but I didn't know it up here. So I was really able to connect really, really well. I'm so thankful and grateful. You've been a tremendous support and inspiration to me.
Thank you. That was the Igor teaching. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Which really, at the time, it was all about, well, here's the energy field that people create through commonality of belief. But it's personal too. And that actually kind of leads into a thought I just had, a more mystical interpretation, if you will, of John 14. The Father will send the Son. The Father will send the Holy Spirit in my name, right?
Yeah.
But then, and not that we even have to stay in the Jesus energy or the Jesus age, because we're moving out of that. But even just that he concludes it by saying this was a parable. What Christian has ever gone to Jesus and say, tell me about that parable? No, we say, no, it's literal. A spirit comes from the sky and indwells in you. and then when we believe that way, we create that reality, and that's how we experience it. So that's how you and I met. I was talking about the egregore. We create out of our formless spirit a form through a belief, through a teaching, through a guru, through somebody's example. If somebody's life example spoke to us, we start creating from that life example, or their teachings, their words, or reading the Bible. We start or reading the Quran, or reading Wiccan literature, reading Satanist literature, Thelemic, whatever it is we're reading, we give form to our higher self, and then our higher self starts to form us. So the Father, in my revelation now, the Father is the original thought that you have that starts a new path, a new adventure, that ends in a fulfillment. And so the Father is the origin point. Your perception, the Father is John 14, the Father will send the Holy Spirit in the name of the Son. So the Father, invisible origin point, in the macrocosm, omnipresence living outside of time and space. In the microcosm, your unique perception of God sends or activates and actualizes the higher nature in the name of the Son. The Son is the manifestation of the invisible. You can't see the invisible, so somebody has to personify it for you to see it. That's why every eye shall see him. But you got to give yourself over to it completely for a season so that the cloud can be saturated. He cometh with cloud, Revelation 1. So that's how we met, was teaching on the egregore, the energy field. But this has taken us into, the questions I've been getting in the past couple of years. People saying, well, what is, everybody's contradicting each other. So what is the pure consciousness? And I'm like, there's no such thing as the pure consciousness.
Right.
If you believe you have the pure consciousness, the only true God, that's going to give you superiority complex. And so the Father sends the Spirit in the name of the Son, in my revelation now, simply means how you conceive a perception of the divine, a perception of your personal potential in career, marriage, friendships, spirituality, ministry, teaching, something that's going on in your life. You conceive an idea. There's the Father. And the Father sends the Holy Spirit in the name of the Son. So this sends the empowerment of your vision, the vision over your life, your perception is what gives you power to actualize and then personify. Hello, Son of God. That's not male or female. So the actualization starts with a thought. When Yanni did this concert at the Acropolis, he ends it by saying, this all started with a thought. There's your Father. It's not a male deity. The Father, this all started with a thought. The thought, the spark, the divine. So some of you watching this right now, I know I'm connecting with you in the spirit. I'm saying your idea, your passion, the thing that you're recently coming into after some deconstruction. I'm seeing people watching this that have been through some deconstruction from religious dogma, and now you're coming into a perception, a conceiving of a vision of how you could live your life without the confines, constrictions of religious dogma that produce self-hate in your career, in your marriage, in your lives, in your friendships, in your sex life. You're conceiving an idea. That's the Father, and the Father sends the Spirit. You empower yourself by believing in the potential. And then he says he sends the Spirit in the name of the Son. So in the name of means in the nature of. In the nature of you, in the nature of how you personify your vision, that's how this next season of your life will unfold. So that's basic law of attraction with a twist, is that it's more personal. It's you making it happen, not by a force of will and competitiveness, but by simply believing the original vision, into being. And so that's the personal version of what you and I originally connected with. Otherwise, if we don't do that, otherwise we're given to the egregore, which is you come into a guru's under a guru's umbrella, an Eastern guru's umbrella, and then your life is controlled by that, or a Christian minister's umbrella, right, or Scientology umbrella, or Buddhist umbrella, and then your life is controlled by that agreed upon ancient old energy field, and you're a manifestation of that rather than a manifestation of your own fingerprint and uniqueness. So that's why Jesus said the Father will send the Spirit in the name of the Son, and then concludes it. John 14, John 15, John 16 are one conversation. And he concludes that conversation, John 16:25, these things have I spoken in parables, but the time comes where I'll show you plainly the Father. So there's something I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
I love you. You put a post up recently. I don't know, last few days, I think. I'm not on as much as I used to be, so maybe it's older, but I saw it yesterday, I think, where you talked about the old paradigm was all paths lead to God.
Mm-hmm.
And the new paradigm is all paths are of God, basically.
Yeah, or God is personified in all
said
humanity.
it much better than I did.
Yeah, God is universalism, says that all paths lead to the one God.
Right.
But the universality of God is that God is unveiled in all of mankind, in the spectrum of mankind.
Yeah, which then kind of ties back to what you were saying about there is no pure.
Yeah.
And this is hard for, I think that sometimes, and I love the way you interact with people, Doug, and your page, because you're so patient and you really take your time to read the questions and respond to the questions. But I've seen, a number of times people are like, I have no idea what you're saying here. It's resonating with me, but I have no idea what you're saying. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking I think part of the reason for that is because you really do, for most of us, come outside of the paradigm. Yeah. And when you think about change happens on different levels, right? I can change my mind about what I'm going to eat tonight. So that's going to change some things, nutrition I get, whatever. That's a small level change. I can change my mind about my career. I can change my mind about my identity, but I can still fit those things into a paradigm. When you have to shift your paradigm, because a paradigm is a whole way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And you're speaking a new paradigm.
Well,
and
yeah,
so people are hearing that.
Yeah, and the old way of universalism, all paths lead to the one true God, that still allowed people to think, and I am his representative. So not these other things. So I've found the one true God. All paths lead to this thing that I have personally found. And if you didn't find the same thing I've found, then your path is wrong.
Right.
Because I know this about God from my personal experience. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Your fingerprint revealed this about the divine, but that doesn't mean that what you have found is what's supposed to be true then for 8 billion people on the planet. We're supposed to learn and be in awe of everybody's path, unless it's harmful. I mean, we're tolerant to all, save for the intolerant.
Right.
We celebrate all, save for the harmful.
Right.
So where it becomes conducive, where a teaching becomes conducive to an atmosphere in a nation for the continuation of murder and harm to my family because they're not white, then power must stop you. If years go by of loving conversations, loving sit-down conversations, eventually the people that teach a thing that creates more and more of a conducive atmosphere for nationalism that creates harm to Black, brown, and gay people, that has to go away somehow. The Elohim of the hour have to speak the annihilation of that type of a harmful way of going about things. Because colonialism, that was a thing, and now it's over. Colonialism was the offspring of the age of Pisces. This fish is preferred over this fish. Single eye to the negation of this. That worked outwardly from the inward place, as above, so below. It worked outwardly to society where white over Black, Palestinian over Jew, right? Putin over Ukraine. And who cares? Who cares about the victim? It's almost like masturbation to a snuff film, because you did it within yourself. You said, "Ooh, I'm just getting off on spirit dominating over my soul. Ooh, that's soulish. Ooh, that's the ego. Ooh, that's emotions." You do that long enough, next thing you know, you're just like all the spirituality groups that you and I have witnessed in the last year going, "Woo, go Putin, go Trump, go Modi." Yeah, we won't get into that. But that's my point, why it needs to end.
Yeah, you talk about, speaking that stuff into destruction so that equality for all, right?
Love and equality for all has to happen now.
Yeah. And religion or spirituality that lends itself to superiority complexes.
Yeah.
The root of a lot of that. And I remember Derek Day, when this whole thing in the Ukraine started, he's like, this is a religious war. And, Derek, I call him the shock jock of the deconstruction world.
Sure. There's a place for that.
And,
Yeah.
and honestly, I thought to myself, and I told him this, I thought to myself, oh, I don't, religion, how does religion have anything to do with this? So I went ahead and Googled it, and sure enough, I didn't realize Vladimir Putin is named after Vladimir the Great, or Saint Vladimir, who was the person who baptized all of Russia, including the Ukraine, into the Russian Orthodox Church, and that he's devoutly Russian Orthodox, and that the Ukraine has been moving away from Russian Orthodoxy. And so part of his vision, certainly not all of his vision, comes from a place of spirituality, but part of his vision, as I understand it, to reunite the great mother Russia or whatever, has to do with the spiritual component. And so being able to grasp that, there is diversity in what we call God. There is not one thing.
Right. Absolutely. And the more that blueprint is taught, the more it will seep in. My understanding of quantum physics is that it only needs one person to observe, like a teaching on equality, or the Matthew 23 version of Jesus, where he spoke the annihilation to the old system.
Yeah.
Because within Moses was the Jesus energy to unfold later. Within Jesus is the consciousness energy to unfold later, but you have to undo to redo. You have to undo it. Matthew 23 spoke the annihilation to the old system so that the new system would be free to breathe, free to happen, free to take place. But yeah, if one person observes it, YouTube video, for example, my understanding of quantum physics is that it shoots into the morphic field of the Earth.
Yes.
The Earth, planet Earth, has an aura where all things are Akashic records, where all things are. It takes its place in the sea above, the astral realm above us. It takes its place there to be available, so that it's not local in time and space. So anything I spoke that one person observed, that one person said amen to, that one person on the planet said, yes, that's truth. Now all of a sudden that truth, that revelation, that illumination, if it was spoken in the anointing, it was spoken from a place of perfected love, that becomes instantly available in the atmosphere of the Earth, and a 5-year-old child in Africa can pick up on it and understand it and say, this came to me in the spirit. Man,
that's so powerful. You mentioned being tolerant of everything except intolerance. I think we talked about this a while back. And that is a mind bender too. Like, we're tolerant of everything but intolerance, because if you're tolerant of intolerance, the intolerance itself will destroy
the tolerance society. And that's how it actually works. I learned that in my early 20s. I thought love was you just let everybody do anything they want, until it almost destroyed me. Many long stories about that. And I realized that love will include boundaries. It doesn't mean you're resentful or bitter. It means you love yourself and you love them. And so there are boundaries for a person, a people group, an orientation group, a gender spectrum group, an ethnicity, a religion. You have boundaries that things that your heart of constantly being perfected in love. Your heart will agree to what is allowable and what is not allowable.
Right.
So when I won't go off on a tangent. That's sufficient.
I think that I was thinking about that the other day too, and I've forgotten that you and I were having that conversation. I was trying to remember where that idea came from about being tolerant of everything except intolerance, because if you're tolerant of the intolerance, it will destroy your tolerant society. And I was like, just when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We're talking about
that. But you cannot feel, see, or understand that if you're living in a version of spirituality that has detached you from your heart. If you don't live in Minnesota, you can laugh at Minnesota jokes. But if you live there, it's like, man, what are y'all talking? Why are you talking about us like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sick of being in a room with people, mixed company, and the Black individual leaves the room after being treated like gold, and then the N-word comes out. And that Black individual doesn't know how degrading those people are, because they think that I'm one of them.
Right.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And so when in those same people are claiming ascension, fifth density, galactic federation,
Right.
that I'm ascended. Well, yeah, you don't care about social justice because you left your heart. You don't live in your heart. So degradation towards people, humans, you don't live in your human. You thought humanity was a prison to escape from.
Right.
So you are vulnerable to hate humanity and to love only a high vibration that escapes, just like cocaine will do the same. Cocaine will do the same thing. Cocaine will get you out of your problems. Cocaine will get you to where you don't give a fuck about anybody. Cocaine will get you to just have this euphoric high. But and so will some of these spirituality teachings. They'll get you out of your heart and into a high vibration to where you don't care about humanity. They're just the inverted matrix. Who cares about them? And you sound just like Rush Limbaugh, his misogyny and black people are 12% of the population. Who cares about that? And that's why you vote. That's why the spirituality groups vote the way they do. They exalt that which is the same spirit. And so I had in 2019 many very real, candid conversations about the racism I've seen throughout my life. Because when you live under the same roof with Black culture from different walks of life, you live for, in my case, 23 years.
Right.
23 years off and on with Black individuals as family. We lived as family. And when you see what you see on a regular basis in 3 different cities, you know that there's an illness to white America that needs to be healed. Yeah. And so when I would have these candid conversations with the ascension crowd, with the non-judgment crowd,
right,
with the neutrality crowd, with the, it was nothing but deflection and vile hate. And you would never in a million years think that could even be the case with these people. But they, once you attack Christian fundamentalism, you got to expose, when you expose Christian fundamentalism and unhealthy dogma, they know that you have to do that in order to get free from it. Mm-hmm. When you expose spousal and child abuse, you expose it so people can get free from it.
Right.
And they say, yay. But when you expose racism so that they might get free from it, the monster came out and attacked me, and I know it attacked you to where you got off Facebook for a while.
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
White people will go vile on you once you touch that nerve.
Yeah, and it's interesting that a lot of it came from the love and light community and the grace community.
They left the heart. They left the heart.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. But I'm thinking about this. You talk about the different densities, fourth or fifth dimension or fourth density or whatever. But there's so many similarities to the religious system that I left, because in Christianity, it was this world, God's going to remake a new heaven and a new earth. Mm-hmm. So this world, is going to end up in the dumpster fire, literally, right? Yep. God's going to burn it up. And so people quit caring. I think it was, who's the more majority guy in the 80s that took over Jim Bakker's thing?
Yeah.
Guy.
I know what you're talking about. Dobson. Yeah.
Not Dobson. Falwell, Jerry Falwell.
Okay. Yeah.
Referred to trying to do any kind of social change. At one point he said that's like polishing brass on a sinking ship.
Right.
And so it's this idea that we're living for the next life. We're living for the next, in that case, the new heaven and the new earth.
Right.
And so it doesn't really matter because this earth is corrupt, it's fallen, etc. And so you disengage from things like social justice or bringing about real lasting change, right?
Doesn't matter.
Fifth dimension or fourth density stuff has, to a certain degree, the same effect because it's the same message. We're going to a new dimension. We're going to a new heaven, to a new earth.
People don't matter then if we're going to a new dimension. Yeah.
Right. And we're ascending, and everybody has their own choices.
Yeah.
So, I remember getting into it with a friend of mine who was like, I had this mystical experience where I experienced oneness with everything. Just, in that minute, I knew I was one with everything. And I said to him, man, that must have been really hard. And he's like, no, it was wonderful. It was ecstatic. I said, really? I said, because there's so much suffering. Mm-hmm. There's so much suffering and pain that you would think if you experience oneness with everything, that you would feel all that pain in a moment of time
Mhm.
How could you tolerate that? Because if
Yeah.
you didn't experience that, then how can you call it oneness with everything? Because you weren't one with
Right.
everything.
Right. You'd experience all the dark shades of reality also. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Wow.
He
Hmm.
didn't like that too much. But
Yep.
again, it's that superiority thing. It's that I've had a superior
Hmm.
experience. I've had, I've had the it
Yeah.
going. Maybe
Yeah.
good to talk a little bit more about that. Like there's this it that we're going after in Christianity. It was Christ likeness. It was destruction
Mhm.
of the flesh. Maybe now in some of the spiritual circles, it's attaining oneness
Yeah.
or climbing, ascending. It's like we're going after the one thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And because when you do that, then you say, I have no self. Oh, it's so good to live with no self. I don't exist. So then when you don't exist, your self still acts up. Your self uh, sends out some volatile, some fighting energy towards people. The difference now is that you're not self-aware anymore. So people can feel it. People get hurt by you and they come to you with it and you say, oh, you're just projecting your own shit. Because I know I didn't do that. Well, the reason you don't realize it is what vibe you're sending out, not what spirit you're of, is because you've made a choice to disengage your consciousness from the self because you said it doesn't exist. And it always works out to society. So who are Holocaust deniers? Who are the people who say the Holocaust didn't happen? Oh, people who hate Jews.
Right.
Say the Holocaust. Who are the people who say racism doesn't exist in the USA? Oh, people who hate Black, brown, and gay people.
Right.
And so women, if you are actively trying to overturn misogyny, but you're still voting for Trump, still praising Limbaugh, still posting Joe Rogan. I mean, if you're still doing that, you're spinning your wheels because it's a package deal. This is a package deal. You can't do one without the other because racism, homophobia, and misogyny are one spirit. So if you're voting for racism, misogyny comes with it. It's just a package freaking deal,
Yeah.
And so when we name it, it's not to be judgmental towards a person. I could care less about Donald Trump. I see the little boy in him that's wounded and precious, and I want to heal that little boy.
Sure.
I'm not judging an individual person. I'm trying to say, look what he's doing, to say, look what is living in your soul. Look what energy is living in your soul. It's not going to be good for your future self. It's not going to be good for your lineage. You can get delivered. If you can see yourself in him, you can get delivered. If you can see it, you can have it. And if you can see a great potential in yourself, you can activate that great potential. And if you can see a low vibrational racism thing or a misogyny thing in yourself, if you can see it when I point that out in political leaders or whatever, if I point it out in them, you can see it in yourself and get deliverance and get transmutation to that and get transformed so that your lineage is clean, so that you don't have to have that conversation I prophetically saw going on all over America. 3 times I saw this vision of 5-year-old kids. And it's like, what is this vision of 5-year-old kids? And it's like, well, when they get to be starting to have a family, all over the United States, you can have sit-down conversations with parents and grandparents. Say, look, I'm sorry, but your curse cannot affect my children. And if your energy is around them, they will not be able to heal and they will not be able to overturn the colonial curse that you put on them through your denial, deflection. Why? Because you care. You go into a rage over a fucking $20 bill counterfeit. But when Trump had a Twitter war, when Donald Trump had a Twitter war with Soleimani, Trump rose up and murdered him in cold blood. And you celebrated that because the next day we found out 2 senators, a Democratic senator and a Republican senator, were fuming mad because they found out in the briefing room that there was no imminent threat from Soleimani whatsoever. It was just 2 men, 2 alpha males having a fight with words on Twitter, and Donald Trump rose up and murdered him in cold blood, and you say, yay! But then when one man raises a fist at the Oscars because it's not a non-white individual, then you go into fucking rage. If you could see yourself doing that, you could get so much deliverance right now. But you're not going to, so those conversations down the road are going to happen. So mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, I love you, but I can't have contact with you. for life. And then your glory years are your suffering years because you let others suffer during your glory years. And it shouldn't have to, I don't want it to be that way, but I got to say, that's what I saw happening if we don't change this. If you keep living, well, Black people are racist too. What? Okay, so you just deflected. You will not be healed in this lifetime. The same thing with massage. The narcissistic abuser he breaks his wife's jaw for the third time. And when you say, look, you need to get healed from that, he says, she cussed out the 7-Eleven. She cussed out the 7-Eleven cashier. She cussed out the 7-Eleven cashier. So that means you don't have to look at yourself and get healed. That's what white, but he had a counterfeit $20 bill. So you're not going to get healed, white America? Okay. Sorry. I'm obviously I've had a lifetime of this.
No, it's
and
good.
Obviously I'm upset, and I understand the secular world, but it's the light and love people that have 99% infection rate from my experience. 99% of light and love, non-judgment, neutrality crowd are deflecting and are racist as hell. It's the secular world that's moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
The secular world that's more like a 50-50 or a 60. Barbara Simons in 2018 took up for Kaepernick, and then a few months later came against police brutality in a video. In both instances, she was bitch slapped hard by all those suburbanites. They came at her so hard that she traumatized her. And I had a picture. I took a picture of her last comment. It says, Barbara Simons said, I don't believe there's even one white person in the United States that understands the Black plight. Not even one. Mm. Now, that was 2018. About a year and a half ago, somebody brought her onto my page, and I said, hey, when you did that, Barbara, you were my hero.
Yeah. She
had no recollection.
Wow.
She blocked it. They traumatized her so bad, she blocked it out.
Wow.
She claimed she never did it. So I put both links on her page. No comment. They traumatized her so bad that she blocked it out. Wow. They traumatized you so bad you got off Facebook for a few months.
Yeah.
They traumatized me to where I'm just like, yeah, I've seen it all my life, so I knew what to expect. But anyway, the point is, obviously there's a fucking problem and we need to get healed, but it's going to come one way. It's going to come the easy way, like a haircut, or it's going to come the hard way, where the ultimate cancellation through Columbus killing twice as many people as Hitler did, 12 million people. And we say Columbus Day, and oh, you better keep those Columbus statues up. He killed twice as many people as Hitler, cut up, chopped up, dismembered brown people's bodies, paraded them all for all to see. He was later a pedophile ring, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. He sold them for sex. This is fact check it all you want. It's there, it's proven. And yet there's something in white people's blood that just resonates with that, because the age of Pisces was activate one, put the other one down. Activate your spirit, put your soul realm down. Your emotions are not you, your thoughts are not you, put it down, kill it. And it works out as white over black, straight over gay, Jew over Palestinian, Russian over Ukraine. It works out as an internal snuff film, and it's time to get delivered. I'm sure this will be, I'd like to probably take a break from anything related to the subject. This is like I wanted this to be my very last word on this, but when I went to God, let's see, I did an hour-long meditation about 6 months ago. An hour-long meditation because I didn't want this to bother me anymore.
Right.
I didn't want this to upset me anymore.
Right.
So I did an hour-long meditation. It was a guided meditation. Entered extreme bliss, peace, just floating in the spirit. I said, I'm giving this over to you. I don't want this to bother me anymore. And spirit took my face and showed me a sword. He said, I'd like this to not bother you anymore, but this sword to set white America free through truth. Mm-hmm. If this didn't bother you, you would never do what I created you to do. As John the Baptist said, taking the axe to the roots, you would never be able to do what I anointed you to do. And so there are people like you who have come through it and can help people step by step. And then there are people born as an abolitionist. God first spoke to me about this when I was 5 years old. I was on the boulevard, Minot, North Dakota, on the boulevard. A black boy and a white boy rode back on their bikes. And the Spirit of God said to me, that's how I want it to be, the world, this world. And he anointed me with this message then. And having had no exposure to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've had a lifetime of exposure. I'm treated differently when I'm in black company than I'm by myself or with white company. Spent most of my life walking into a restaurant with a black woman as my date. People look at us, eyes are rolled, disgust on the face. Wow. And that's, a lifetime of that. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me there's not an illness. But at the same time, I love white America. I love the heritage. I love what white America brings to the table. I love the inheritance. I love everything about this culture. But for whatever reason, I was born to take a sword and cut people free. Mm-hmm. And the offense of the words bypasses the mind, goes into the depths of the soul, and does a work from the seedbed of consciousness. And that's it.
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. Okay, I know what I was going to say. It's part of this is, and this is where I think some of the self-help and love and light teaching is not helpful, because you have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. So, I mean, when we're talking about Columbus, we're talking about slavery, we're talking about, some of America's past, America's history. It's easy as a white person, I know, because I did it, to say, well, that wasn't me. I didn't do those things. And so you don't, you exactly what you said, you deflect, you don't look inside. And why is it, I wonder, that it's so difficult? And I think part of this comes into even the egregores. Like, we've got to understand that we're part of a group mind, right? It's not just our mind. We're part of a group mind. And then we're part of a genetic past. We're part of an ancestral past.
Yeah.
And that's where in the West, I think we have some real disadvantages, because we don't recognize or honor some of those things. And so I didn't realize, Doug, until I started engaging, because to me, it was self-evident.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff shouldn't be tolerated. And the way people freaked out, it's like, I can take away your Bible, I can take away penal substitutionary atonement,
right? And they rejoice.
Take away hell, I can take away Jesus, I can take away the pastor, I can take away the whole church structure. What you say you hold most sacred in your life, but then you say Black Lives Matter. I remember I put a post. This is when it all started for me. I put a post that said, and I heard somebody say it on TV. I don't remember who it was or what I was listening to, but it was during the height of the George Floyd thing. Gosh, I guess that was a couple summers ago now. And and I put, Black Lives Matter is not a political issue; it's a human issue, or something like that. And I thought, wow, I heard him say it. I put it on there. I thought, wow, this is great. I went to bed. I woke up whatever time the next morning, and my thread exploded.
Pure form hate. Yep.
I had like 200 comments, and it was exactly that. People coming at me. I mean, viciously coming at me. And that's when I really realized there is something here that's bigger than one individual person, right?
Yeah.
And it's in our, I hate to say it like this, I don't know how else to say it, and maybe it's not literally true, but it's like in our genetics.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but some members of my family have done the 23andMe and the ancestral stuff. And like, my family is 98% from the UK, and the other 2% is Danish or Norwegian or Prussian, something like that, right? And I thought, and I know, because my sister's done the genealogies, that my family line has been here since before the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And we were Southerners. And I thought, what kind of dedication, what kind of commitment did it take for my ancestors to keep that genetic line pure.
Right.
And that was an awakening for me, because I thought, holy shit, I come from what do I come from? You know?
Right. It's one of the, it's a God form. It's a white Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, replacing the brown Jesus. It's a nationalistic Jesus replacing the Jesus in the gospel, you know, who said, whatever you do to the least of these, you've done to me, you know. And so, okay, go ahead.
No, well, I want to come back to the point that, like, we've got to be okay, because you talk about healing white America, and yeah, I know people are hearing that in white America, hearing this as accusation. They're getting defensive, they're deflecting. And it's like, wait a minute, this is for your healing. But in order for that to happen, you have to become comfortable with what's uncomfortable for you. Like, they don't even take, the people I've engaged with, and I'm sure you would bear witness to this, they don't even take a second to consider.
Not 1 second.
What you're talking about.
Yep.
And that's interesting to me, like, to not sit there and not contemplate and not think about that and think, okay, how has this been part of my life? How has this impacted my life? What might be in me that I don't see? I'll look at my blind spot for every other kind of thing, you know,
for everything else, childhood trauma, everything. Yeah, you'll heal.
I won't even take a second. And that's all we're saying is like take some time, be with yourself, look at things, and lay aside the shame of it, and think about this. And it just doesn't seem that hard, but it's hard for people.
Well, we say, oh, asthma. Well, yeah, I got to do certain things. I have asthma because aunt, mom, and dad all had it, so now I have it. I inherit. You have white skin. Why? Because parents are white. You know, you have a heart condition because you inherit. So it's easy to say, oh, I inherited this, so now I have to eat a certain way because I know what I inherited from them. But then, wait a minute, it was only 3 generations ago. Burn a black man at the stake, hang him, beat him, torture him. Kids are there at a Sunday picnic. Your children are watching this murder take place. Then the charred body, people would scoop some of the body, the charred body, take home as a fucking souvenir. Just generations ago, you say you didn't inherit that? You say that's the past? No, that's in your blood. That shit is in your bloodline. That's why you say Happy Columbus Day to each other, because he did the same thing, even though he never stepped foot in what is the United States. And so when you can see it, you can get delivered, just like a potential. In the darkness of the subconscious, there's greatness. If you can see it, the Father will send the Spirit in the name of the Son. If you can see your potential, your origin point of perception will create that reality in your life. Same thing with this. If you can see the homophobia, racism, misogyny roots that you inherited from the previous generations that were hate-filled people, that God was for them in these things, in these horrors. How do you dare you tell your child, you know, don't watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre? That's evil. But then you inherit, I mean, you're just generations ago, 5 generations ago, your own ancestors were chopping up black people in celebration on a Sunday picnic. What did your kids watch? You know, and they sell in postcards. Look it up, the postcards. White people sent each other postcards just a few generations ago of cut up, dismembered bodies and lynchings. And one of the great Ku Klux Klan favorite postcards, I posted on my thing, but it's too gruesome. I deleted it. But one of the great postcards said on the bottom, a lady was sending it to a lady friend. Said, I don't know who hung him. And it said these words: I don't care. Do you?
Wow.
One of the Ku Klux Klan's favorite postcards. I don't care. Do you? So Melania visits the border where brown people are suffering, and she has a tailor-made jacket. I don't care. Do you?
Wow.
Powerful prophetic act. Just like when she crowned the most misogynistic man in the United States, Rush Limbaugh, crowned him with the Medal of Peace. Because white America wants to have peace and unity around white supremacy. But the way you let it prosper is by saying it does not exist. Just say it doesn't exist. People who hate Jews are Holocaust deniers. Say, oh, the Holocaust never happened. People flooded my inbox when I said BLM. Look at the BLM manifesto. Look at the BLM manifesto. Nothing political there. It's just the Sermon on the Mount today. Go on blacklivesmatter.com. Look at the 5-point manifesto. It's the Sermon on the Mount for today. It's what's going to heal the world. Read it. And my inbox was flooded with people saying racism doesn't exist. You know, so the way you keep it empowered is by living in denial of it.
Yeah.
So that same thing with a drug problem. Guy's got a destructive life, drug problem, says, I have no drug problem.
Right.
And keep saying it until the family finally, if they love him, the family finally does an intervention and gets him into rehab. Same thing with this, the angelic realm, the truth of your higher being is doing an intervention in white America as we speak to say, look, it's time to see this for what it is. Yeah. You inherited this in your psyche. That's why the Uber drivers, I do Uber, I don't have a car. That's why I can tell you some horrible shit that just Uber drivers have said just in the last 6 months and sprinkled throughout. And I live in Birmingham, Alabama. Things are, I live in a good neighborhood, but this has quite a history.
Yeah, right, for sure.
So, yeah. So, it's like a construction crew in the spirit, demolishing the old structure right now. 70 AD moment where Rome sacked Jerusalem and destroyed the temple of God because it was time for that structure to go away. The internal structure of animal sacrifice to go away. And once that act happened, 90% genocide of the Jewish people. Once that happened, within 200 years from that moment, all nations stopped the animal sacrificial systems. Wow. And mankind evolved. Now mankind is about to have another evolutionary leap, but there's no leap if you can't let go of something that you didn't own. Once you own it, by seeing it, you can let go of it. And then all is peaceful. All is peaceful after that. Yeah.
So, how are you doing? We've been going about, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. How are you doing?
I'm okay for another 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
5-10 minutes. Okay. Well, then I'm not going to open up a new subject. We'll have to.
Well, just maybe I could do a concise version.
Do a concise thing.
If something's burning in your heart.
It's a really a right turn, but it can relate. And what I want to get at is, using energies that exist for transformation.
Yep.
Archetypes. You talk a lot about the dark feminine. You've talked about Lilith. You've talked about, Aleister Crowley and his writings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that would be interesting to talk about, and like I said, we can delve into this or not. It's entirely up to you. But how do you view that? Like, how can we, so let's say we own this, we've got this problem, or maybe it's some other problem. How can we tap into energies on a spiritual level, on a level of consciousness that can help bring about positive transformation for us?
I think we do it automatically because of what we are. What we are is the image of God, and we do it automatically. And so, like, for example, I'll give you an example. So like, I transformed through energy, my eating disorder that I had. I was severely bulimic. So 2 issues I had. I was bulimic. I had a terrible, that's where you binge and purge. You can't stop eating because it's a spiritual, psychological problem where your relationship to food is a symbol of something that's not healed. So like the sexual abuse that I experienced when I was 14 from a wrestling coach who was part of the pedophile ring. That thing, I blocked it out and it manifested in my relationship to food. Okay. So I was bulimic, and for 4 years I was bulimic, and for 4 years I was crying out to God for deliverance. Miracle happened, but a miracle, and I've never had a relapse in 32 years. 32 years I haven't had a relapse. So there was a miracle done that delivered me from bulimia, but it wasn't until I had soaked in the depths of despair on that thing. I had soaked in the depths of desperation because I couldn't get free from it. Right. And through a process, the deliverance was here, then it was here, then it was here. Finally, it came up and out. The deliverance did, because the image of God always works deliverance for us, whether we have to go through it the hard way because it was so ingrained. It was attached to things I couldn't see, just like racism, where, if you're born and raised on a green planet, and I tell you your planet is green, you don't know what the color green is. You've never seen any other color. I come from Earth where there's a spectrum of colors. Your planet is called green. It's like, what are you talking about? Quit accusing me of something. No, that's the color of your planet. It's green. He doesn't know what green is because he's never seen anything else. So when you're born from 20 generations of racism, you don't know what it is. You have no idea what it looks like. You just know this is the way things have always been. So the bulimia I got delivered from through the energies of prayer, but it took a long process because of how ingrained it was with trauma. The other thing was when I come to God, hearing the voice of God. I noticed a preacher. I noticed what he was doing. He was leaning in the spirit and speaking what he's hearing. I said, that's my inheritance from God. That's, as a prophet, that's what I need to experience, is God teaching me voice. So I went through 3 or 4 years of hell and high water, of experience after experience, where sometimes it was the imagination, sometimes it was an astral counterfeit, and sometimes it was the voice of source. And through a long process, I transmuted from no discernment to keen discernment, discerning of spirits, discerning of, by learning me better, what state of mind was I in, what emotional bias did I have, what did I want an outcome in that, how did I hear, what did I hear? And, you know, through a long process, I began to have discernment. So what I'm saying is the dark feminine is the abyss, where the most private parts of ourselves that are often demonized by religion and society. We embrace those things and they become integrated with the higher self, the divine masculine. And once they're integrated, neither are alone, neither are trying to do their thing alone. And so that's where I'm coming to the hearers. I'm coming to the people that are struggling with this. I'm coming in this video to the people who were born and raised in nationalism, many mansions in my father's house. They're in that mansion of nationalism. They have repented 2 steps. They have seen the light. They have walked 2 steps from the center point of that room. But I'm saying you've got another 18 steps before you get out of that room, and then another 20 steps before you get established in a new room of love and equality for all. And until then, you're going to demonize everybody that's given themselves to science to heal the nations, and you're going to demonize every politician that's given themselves for love and equality for all. Calling them communists, calling them pedophile Satan worshipers. You have to do that, just like Germany called the Jews blood libel, that they were killing Christian children and drinking their blood.
Right.
That's how the Holocaust happened. So you have, so while you're in that room, I celebrate that you've taken 2 steps out from center, but there's a ways to go before you get out of the room itself. And until you get out of the room itself, you'll resonate with QAnon, and you will think everybody that's for love and equality for all is a devil worshiper. Just like in Nazi Germany, thought the Jews were devil worshippers. Yeah. Thought the Jews were having satanic rituals. So that's just the human nature, to demonize that which you don't really want because it won't benefit you. If the white supremacist archons are taken down, it doesn't benefit you anymore. If you leave hell doctrine and pastoral control, it does benefit you. That's why it was easy for an exodus to happen from Christian fundamentalism. So I would look at all these people who had left Christian fundamentalism, were finding what they called the true light of true Christ. And I'm like, yes, I found my tribe. And I go on their page and it's like, they called them savages for a reason. You know, like affirming the genocide of Native American people and all this racist stuff. And it would just stab my heart every time, you know? Yeah. So keep going from center point, and it's going to be a process, because now you have to contend with the anointing in the words you've heard tonight. Now there's a wrestling match. Jacob wrestled with himself until morning, until he saw the face of God in Esau the next day, the very same Esau who his God form once said, his God form, his higher self once upon a time said, Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated. BLM have I hated. Now Jacob wrestled with himself all night until finally he saw Esau's face as your face is the face of God. So there's people listening to this. It's going to invoke a wrestling match with their higher self. And in the morning, you're going to go to the BLM website, look at the 5-point manifesto. You'll see there's nothing communist. You see there's nothing political. It's just the Sermon on the Mount for today. And you say that I see the face of God, and that which I once heard my God form say, I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's,
healing commence. Yeah.
yeah. So last thing I'll throw in, one of the last messages that I preached when I was still doing public ministry from a pulpit was, gosh, I did some stuff on like opening the gates of hell, or the positive power of the power of darkness. And it was from this idea that heaven and hell exists within us. It's interesting. The same group that says the kingdom of heaven is within you. They quote, Luke 17:3. Jesus said, the kingdom of God is within you, but yet we make hell this external place. And yet people are living in hell. And I know this as a counselor because I see it every day. People are living in some version of hell all the time, right? And so having to open that gate, you have to open that, you have to feel that, you have to look at that, you have to integrate that, just like you would with trauma, just like you were talking about, 14 years old, being victimized by a pedophilia ring is painful. That's hell.
Yeah.
The scar that leaves on your soul, that's hell.
Yeah.
So that gate had to be opened in order for that wound to be healed.
Yep.
And so maybe in some respect, and then if you think about this in terms of what we're talking about tonight, the superiority that we have, whether it's racism, whether it's against Black people, whether it's against brown people, whether it's against transsexual or people of a different sexual orientation or sexual lifestyle than ours, whatever that difference is, like we're raging against that. And so we open that gate of hell and then create hell for other people, right?
Right.
For where they're going to live. But here's the paradox that I'm seeing, and maybe you'll disagree with this, but because I'm kind of getting this in real time, right? Like growing in real time, but perhaps the prophetic word that is taking this system down, this aspect of hell that's within us, out of us, that in and of itself is opening the gate.
Say that again. I want to fully get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that prophetic word that says equality for all, a society where there's equality for all, a society where this thing doesn't exist anymore, but it exists in us. And since whatever's in us has to be opened and healed, open in order to be healed.
In order to be healed,
that very word of healing is opening the gates for that, which is why perhaps we see an increase of it and an influx of it before we see a transformation take place. So in other words, the prophetic word comes out and things appear to get worse, but what's really happening at the level of consciousness is those gates of hell are being opened for that darkness to be exposed in order that it might be healed. But as it's being opened, all hell's sort of breaking loose.
Yeah, actually. And so things that have always been going on are revealed, making it look like the world's getting worse, when whatever's going on right now, you can't compare that to, what is it, 40,000, 50,000 people being murdered in Europe. It was called the European witch burnings. That once Constantine took over and made everybody be Christians, there were families, there were bloodlines who said, no, we're going to still practice. We're not going to receive a God who our fathers knew not. We're not going to do that. That's sin for us. We're not going to do that. We're not going to sin against God. So they kept their religion. Great is Diana of the Ephesians. Paul encountered that in Ephesus. So they kept that. So then they were called, instead of practitioners of their family religion, now they were called witches. So then there was like between 30,000 and 50,000 witches that were willing to die for their faith. But 12 men willing to die for their Jesus faith, we say, well, that proves that Jesus is the only way. And that's where the universality of God comes in. Age of Pisces is over. Quit saying you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. Once you embrace your dark feminine, once you embrace your emotions, your rage, your everything, it'll integrate and the tears will stop. It won't be alone in you anymore. And once you do that, your eyes will be open and behold, you, like several of us, will have a passion for culture. Every nook and cranny of difference in pigmentation, facial structure, dialect will just become fascinating to you all of a sudden, instead of a thing of disdain. Mannerisms, cultural ways, other cultures in other nations. These things will open up to you as a passion. like it was for me, growing up. I didn't come, a lot of people come through it into this. I was born this way because I believe I was an abolitionist in my last lifetime, in my last incarnation. And so that's why probably I was born like this. And so for me, growing up in Minot, North Dakota, there was an Air Force base right near us, and it brought in ethnicities of all kinds. It brought in people from all over the nation. We had a Native American reservation just north and one just south. So I grew up in a one world clique where all the ethnicities celebrated each other and loved each other. And we see color so that we can celebrate color, just like you see a purple sunset versus an orange sunset. Both are beautiful, but this is purple and this is orange, and nobody's saying, why you gotta call it purple?
Right.
That's color differentiation. No, I'm seeing color so I can, so that's what I grew up in. And then when I got to be 18, 19, 20 years old, the church, somewhat the secular world, but most of the church, I saw the face of the devil over and over and over when it came to my relationship to ethnicity.
Yeah. You wonder why we felt this, and I'll include myself in this because you come out of the Branham stream, so you maybe didn't deal with this as much, but why we feel this fidelity to Orthodox Christianity, when Orthodox Christianity, in the name of orthodoxy, truly has been responsible for horrible atrocities. The Gnostics weren't responsible for these horrible atrocities. Even the Satanists. I mean, you can't take any there. I don't think you can take any Satanist group and hold a candle
to
the expanse of history
and Islam
atrocities. And Islam as well. To the atrocities that were committed, and yet we had this fidelity to it, like you said at the beginning, like we have this truth and it's pure.
So again, the difference, the egregore is the umbrella under which we are either born or entered into after a spiritual awakening. That's the umbrella energy field of mindset that you receive into yourself, and it takes over. Whereas the Father sending the Spirit in the name of the Son is your origin point. That's your unique fingerprint that you actualize. And once you actualize it, that's the Son. It's not male deity. The Son is just the magical child that you produce. So I'm just speaking a word saying produce. But with that, I'm saying if you produce by the law of attraction, but you still didn't undo the unholy trinity of the age of Pisces, which is the unholy trinity is the racism, misogyny, and homophobia. If you didn't undo it, then you bring it with you, and it will curse your future self. So don't do it. See it. It's so easy once you see it. You will embrace yourself in ways you'll love yourself. Once you undo that energy that you inherited by first seeing it, by be willing to see it. It may come in graduations. Jesus healed a man's eyes. And he said, oh, I see men walking as trees. So Jesus had to pray again. And then he saw people clear. He saw everything clearly. So some healings come in graduations. You'll see ethnicity in a new light. You'll see people in a new light. You see the cry of the marginalized. Peter saw the Grecian widow saying, hey, we made a deal. We sell everything, give it to you so that and then you provide our meals. You're not providing our meals. We get it. You grew up Jewish. You called us the profane people. We get it. But damn it, can't you step into a new day, Peter? And he did. He didn't say all women matter and walk away. He said, no, you're right. Let me appoint 7 deacons and make sure you're good to go. So that's the place where he came to. We all need to come to. And so if you find yourself rejoicing for how all the violence we use to get free from the British rule, but rage over 2 windows broken at a BLM event, then maybe that's an opportunity for deliverance that you can look into, see why that is, and then get free. Because when you're free, it's a warm sunlight shower that drenches your being, and bliss like you've never known it before, because you're free from a low vibrational energy that you were calling ascension. Pharaoh's ascension is what hardened his heart. God hardened his heart. God hardened his heart. Ascension, shooting up into the Godhead, is what gave him such a hard heart towards marginalized people. So don't leave your heart. Dwell in your heart.
It's awesome.
That's it.
It's a great way to bring it back around, man. Right back to the beginning. So
I love all of you guys. I feel strong, intense love for everyone watching this. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug.
Word of medicine. Yep. Thank you, brother.
Yep. Hey, everybody watching. Love you guys. Thank you.
Yep.
I already see we're getting requests and some of the comments for some more stuff like this. So
Yeah.
We'll see if we can make it happen. All right.
All right.
We'll see everybody later. I'm gonna
Talk to
sign
y'all
off.
soon. Okay.